Hey guys, and welcome to the Kane audio vlog. Today is a bit of a different one, I suppose. For any of the long-term viewers, you'll notice that I'm now in a new studio. For people who are watching this for the first time, let me give you a brief explanation. I have been writing, producing music for, I don't know, 20 odd years. Until a couple of years ago, I was in an industrial unit that was my studio, and then I moved to this property and was in the back room of the house while I planned to build this cabin in the garden. So yeah, the cabin is built and this is it. So I kind of wanted to do a couple of videos. I think it'll be 2 or 3 videos, I don't know, but there'll be an ongoing series. So this is, I want to make this clear from the very beginning. This is, first of all, this is not going to be how to build a cabin type situation. I'll cover kind of roughly how I did it, and I'll cover more importantly what my options were. I suppose that's kind of key to all of this. So that's really the important bit. The other important bit is that I am an electronic music producer, and therefore things like having this completely soundproofed it's not my intention. It's an option, and this is where I'll go on to explain that there may be an ongoing series. So what I wanted to do was put together a few videos that sort of lead me up to this moment, and then we can sort of take the rest of the journey together, I guess. So there's a few things to consider. First of all, I'll talk you through what the property is like and what obstacles I had to deal with, what my options were. I'll put together some time-lapsey stuff over the top of that. And yeah, I guess from here, like I say, I've sort of specifically not gone for a fully soundproof, and I feel like YouTube is full of how to build a log cabin videos, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on that. I also feel like YouTube is full of music producers who are maybe drummers or in bands or things like that, who need, you know, concrete permanent buildings that are fully soundproofed, and that's not really what I needed. I didn't need it to be over the top, and I didn't have a crazy budget to do it either. So yeah, so I mean, for me the important bit is being able to sit down here, have my computer, have a decent quality sound, and just sort of, you know, play piano. And to sort of work with synths and do some sound design jobs, and well, do my job really. So yeah, that's about it for introductions. I think I'll now pick up another camera here, and let's have a look if I can give you a little bit of a tour around this. Let's have a look. So it's a bit of a mess still, but essentially I'll give you some shots of the outside of the cabin, well, now. So as you can see, it's double French doors and single window. It's a fairly standard looking log cabin. There's a few optional extras I threw into it, things like the black shingle roof, the additional insulation for floor and roof and things like that. And let's have a look. I'll just get this internal camera right. So I've got big black acoustic curtains over there. Is that a bit grub on my camera? Let me just wipe that. There we go. So yeah, so I've got big black acoustic curtains and blind over there. I have got Wi-Fi 6 router and alarm-based system that's fully monitored. That's monitored 24 hours a day. It's also got an included camera inside this property and outside as well. So if, for example, the alarm is triggered, then I can double check on cameras and dispatch police, or there's a call centre that can dispatch police over the phone with me. Obviously I've got racking, cabinet, equipment, synths. There's There's a couple missing that I still haven't unpacked fully yet. Monitor speakers, I did install underfloor heating, which I'm yet to put in a proper case. So that's just there at the minute, but yeah, I've got underfloor heating at the minute. Again, for those who aren't watching this in real time, it is now the middle of June, so I really don't need underfloor heating at the minute. But yeah, very nice laminate flooring. Yeah, I don't know if there's too much more to explain. And then of course the camera and lights that you're watching me on, and the microphone you're hopefully hearing me on, and that is about it for the inside. Yeah, fairly standard desk, as you can see. Yeah, there's not much more to explain. So that's essentially the insides that you're looking at. And I guess on to the time lapse, really. Okay, so I've done like a 200% time lapse here. There's I'm not going to go into crazy detail. I'm not going to play the whole thing because the actual build, I think even at something like 300% speed of a time lapse, is still something like 40 minutes long. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing. However, what I will explain is this is my garden. To the very bottom left of the screen, you may or may not be able to see, there is actually another shed. The one that you can see me emptying at the minute is slightly larger, so the plan was to get that larger shed to replace the smaller shed down the bottom, get rid of the smaller shed, and take it from there. However, being a family house, we've accumulated an astounding amount of crap, some of which we needed to just get rid of down the tip, some of which we were going to sell, some of which we've given to charity. Yeah, so this basically took, I think, probably 2 or 3 days of trying to empty this shed and beat the weather. As you can see, it's glorious sunshine while I'm doing it. Unfortunately, it wasn't continuous glorious sunshine at the very beginning, so I had to sort of take a day off here and there, which meant basically emptying the shed and then filling it back up again in some sort of order at the end of the day, and then waking up the next day and starting all over again, taking everything out the shed again. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. But what you should be able to see is that to the right hand side of the garden there are steps, or a stepped patio, and to the left hand side it's more of just a sloping garden. Then you can see there's a slight angle where the base of the shed is. So I had decided to use that base of the shed originally. I'd decided to basically just fill the base, so take the shed away and then use that base. You can see the slabs that are on an angle. My plan was to just straighten those up and level them off, and then use that whole area as a base, because there's actually a couple of foot, what you can't see is there's at least a couple of foot, maybe best part of a metre, the other side of the shed, that I was going to use to build my cabin on. As it turned out, the way the cabin choices were, all of the cabins basically have the door on the widest side, and I didn't want the door of my cabin to be facing my driveway. I wanted it to be facing the lounger to the right, so I had to have a change of plan basically. So me and my beautiful other half decided, let's take advantage of this and paint the fence. So you can see on a separate day here, we're just dabbling with things and getting things painted and prepped, and I'll skip forward some. So from this point is where I started removing slabs and building them up on the side. The idea was basically to measure out essentially where you can see the patio ends on the right hand side of the garden. I wanted to sort of level that out and make continue that line to the left hand side of the garden to dig and level. You can't really see the slope of the garden here very well, but I would say it's probably a 20-degree slope, so it's not a crazy slope. So there were lots of options there where I could either dig down or build up, or a bit of both, or whatever, and I chose to go for a bit of both basically. So I could build a small retaining wall at the base of it and dig down at the top of the garden and just push the soil over to the lower part of the garden where the retaining wall is. So skipping forward some more, you can see that we are now trying to draw out the lines for where the base is going to go, and at the same time I'm looking into how to make sure I'm getting a decent retaining wall built in. So you can see here I'm just sort of piecing bits together, getting ready to build the retaining wall. The retaining wall I used C24 fully pressure treated wood. It really only needed to hold, I mean, we're looking at probably 200 mil of soil, maybe 300 mil at the most. It's not a huge wall, so it didn't need to I didn't want to be putting concrete in the garden. That was a big thing for me, so I went with this. I don't honestly know how long it's going to last, but I should imagine it will last at least as long as the cabin, and I think that's guaranteed for 10 years, something like that. So while I look at the time lapse, let me just explain the three main options I had at the very beginning when I was deciding to build a garden studio. Let's say option number one would have been the most expensive. So these are based on budgets, I guess. They've each got pros and cons. Budget number one would be top budget, off the shelf, garden office, fully insulated, UPVC, doors, windows, the works. For the size I was looking at, which is about 3x4 or 4x5 meters, closer to 3x4 meters, I was looking at about 12 grand for just the office delivered, basically. There would or could be potential problems with that. One of the benefits obviously is that it's simple to build. It's just SIPS panels. It's, you know, fully functioning. It's fully insulated. You know, it's ready to go. They have interior lights. They have everything. It is what it is. It's a complete package. So the advantage of that is obviously time is on your side. But the disadvantage is, well, what if that needs additional soundproofing? You know, with wooden logs, I can build an additional wooden structure inside if I need. With SIPS panels, it's not quite so easy. So there was a lot of cons, other than the obvious price, which was a huge con. So yeah, so that was, it was an option, but not quite a realistic one. Option two was really going for a log cabin, an insulated log cabin that would allow me to build on the interior and potentially expand from there. The budget was much less, so we're looking at maybe 5 or 6. It's, you know, pretty much half the budget for the actual cabin, and but then you'd need to spend more on getting everything painted, for example, on, you know, roofing, on a sturdier base. So there were lots of potential issues there. And then I guess option 3 was to basically build everything from scratch, which, having built my last studio in an industrial estate, I was, and I'm okay with DIY. I kind of felt like that was probably a better option in the long run, but I also know from experience that you can go way over budget with these things, and also you can stress out over things that maybe don't matter in the end. And I feel like, when you're designing something yourself, you're measuring things to the millimeter, and sometimes you don't need to be, and you can spend a whole day just obsessing over, I don't know, the angle of something or the position of something, or whether you want a window on the side or the front or whatever. Sometimes having those options removed from you actually pays dividends. So as you can probably guess, I went with option 2, but those were my 3 options basically. Basically just blow the whole budget on a garden office, but the problem then is, what if something isn't quite right? What if I need to add in some additional soundproofing? I don't know how to do that with SIP panels. Do I have access to inside the panels? And I didn't know enough. The other thing to bear in mind throughout all of this, I'm not sure if I've mentioned it in this video yet already, but a huge thing to bear in mind is I had been saving for a couple of years and putting money aside to do all of this project. I've been planning it for a couple of years. Coronavirus came along and put us all into quarantine, and while I was still budgeting and looking at options of things and trying to work out what was the best option for me, I don't know if it was good luck or bad luck, but one way or the other, because lockdown happened and the DIY shops were somewhat delivering or click and collect or whatever, I kind of decided that it's now or never, because we were all at home and we had some time to be able to do it. So I kind of had to just go, right, this is it, let's go for it. So I think budget dictated a fair amount, but there we go. Those were the 3 options I had, and as you can see, I went for option number 2, with a view to potentially soundproofing this at a later date if needs be. Right now I quite like the sound of the rain and the sound of the birds singing in the garden, so I don't feel that I need to soundproof it. Whether that becomes annoying or not in the future, we'll find out. But I managed to get the cabin up in a day and get the doors on, and we were then forecast gale force winds and torrential rain the day after, starting from the afternoon. So I had to quickly weatherproof the roof and get that put together. Thankfully I'd opted for the hexagonal shingles for the roof as an optional extra, which was well worth it, especially in the wind, because I have felted roofs in the wind before and it is not fun. So yeah, that's essentially getting to the point of having a basic structure in place. There's a lot more to cover, like flooring, like painting, the roofing, and then obviously choosing what goes in and how, and acoustics and all of that. So I think there's quite a lot more to cover. But I kind of wanted to give everyone a bit of an overview of the base structure. There's again a lot more choices I had to make with things like alarm systems, security, all of these options. There was a lot to consider, getting internet here, getting electricity in here. Yeah, there was a lot to do, but all in all, I think getting from the landscaping, from starting the landscaping to having a weatherproof structure, I think all in all took maybe 2 or 3 weeks. The actual building of the cabin probably took 2 days. Yeah, pretty much for it to be from the base to the weatherproof structure was probably 1.5 to 2 days. So yeah, that's probably all I need to cover for episode 1. I'm sure some of you will have plenty of questions, so please do ask your questions below this video in the comments, and I will get on to answering as many as I can. Yeah, I don't know how much detail I need to go into these things. Like I say, there's plenty of tutorial videos out there of how to build a cabin. There's plenty of tutorial videos on how to soundproof a building, so that's really not my focus. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.